And so now, in order to just quickly introduce us to more of UFI's work before we get into our knowledge sharing sessions this afternoon, it's time to have a quick chat with Louise Rowland, who is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of UFI VocTech Trust. So welcome, Louise.
Hi, Sophie. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone.
So, Louise, how's your day going? And how's your week, the week of VocTech?
Oh, really good. It was, such a highlight really to be able to just focus on the role of tech in adult skills, and had a really great session yesterday with the Association for Learning Technology on their sector audit. So lots of resources and insights about how you can get help and support if you're a practitioner. It was really good. And we had a bit of a reception last night in London with some of our key stakeholders. So
fantastic.
Really, really great. Thank you. And the link's on in the chat there, which is fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, I'm excited in this section just to kind of find out some of the highlights from UFI's work this year. So we're sort of drawing towards the end of the year. I think everyone's probably under the cover of some rain today and it's getting darker. So as we draw towards the end of the year, what are the highlights of UFI's work for you this year, do you think?
Well, we've been, really busy continuing to deliver our strategy, and of course for us, it's, really the role that skills has in supporting, a system and an economy where no one's left behind. And our focus is really on how the very best technology and use of technology and digital pedagogies can support people who are furthest away from learning. And, to make this happen, this year we've awarded £1.5 million of grant to 27 new VocTech seed projects, and many of whom hopefully we'll see at the showcase on Thursday. So if you're not going to the showcase, please do sign up to that. And they're all focused on testing new ideas. And Jane and the amazing grants team have supported nearly 100 live projects in delivery this year. And there'll be a bit more from Jane in a minute about next year's grant funding. The ventures portfolio, our UFI Ventures portfolio, has grown to 10, and we've leveraged £16 million of co-investment into our portfolio. And that's absolutely fantastic that, more investment is flowing into the adult vocational space. Alex is going to join us in a bit to talk about the priorities for UFI Ventures funding in a minute. So it's really exciting. And we can't achieve our mission alone, so on top of our grants and our ventures this year, we've really spent a lot of time developing strategic partnerships with organisations that are aligned to our mission, with the Resolution Foundation, the Association for Learning Technology, the RSA, and IDEA. And, together we've published and commissioned some really, really important research for the sector as well, which is super exciting. Last week, I've already talked about the ALT community sector audit that was launched yesterday. Last week, we published a really important piece of research with the RSA, which really, I think, challenges how we talk about and how we sell skills and lifelong learning to people. And what was really interesting about it, and they would talk to lots of different people in some of the communities where people are furthest away from learning, is that how learning is sold often doesn't tap into their motivators, and we really need to think about what motivates people to learn and how to encourage them to learn, because lifelong learning rates are persistently low. So I've been thinking about how do we, the report showed that people really valued the social and the health aspects, and the role of your peers and your friends in recommending learning. Wages, progressing in work is important, but it's not everything. So a really challenging piece there, I think. So
absolutely. That reminds me of one of your grant funded projects, I think, Game Academy, and I had the similar conversation with David there about what motivates and the role of peers. And yeah, we'll get into that in the live podcast discussion tomorrow morning, which is part of the week of VocTech. But so that's amazing. So you've got your partnerships, you've got, you know, the kind of deeper understanding of sort of motivators, which is, you know, part of the VocTech challenge and the white paper that came out as well. So what's next, I suppose? So, you know, if we're looking forward towards next year, you know, what are the big announcements that will come out of this week that you want people to know about as well?
Well, Jane's going to talk a little bit about some of our grant funding. I think for me, it's how we build on the work we kicked off 2 years ago when we started our challenge, that really focused on how digital can level up learning for those most impacted by the digital divide and greatest risk from being excluded, really, from jobs and training. And how do we build on what we've learned from that process? I'm really pleased that a lot of the breakouts in a minute really draw on the practical insights that we've learned. And we've also built some really fantastic partnerships around what we've learned. And Josh, our public affairs manager, has been taking those learnings and case studies and banging the drum for policymakers and government about why this is so important. You know, we know our research was right. Confidence, motivation, massive barriers to learners. We know that tech, digital tools, digital pedagogies used intelligently can help transform access to learning. And we know that context is everything. So if you're implementing measures to improve confidence and motivation, you know, it has to be really relevant to the lived experience of those learners. You know, one size doesn't fit all. User-centric design is important. So the question that the team and we're challenging ourselves with now is, how do we do more? What do we do with what we've learned, in particular in the context of these really persistent low levels of adult participation in lifelong learning. And you know, if you're already well qualified, you're more likely to learn. And that's a massive problem for the UK as a whole. And you know, the evidence in last week's lifelong learning, adult participation in lifelong learning study was really stark. So we know, you know, we know these massive challenges persist, and that's why I'm really delighted to announce that in our next VocTech challenge, which will be starting very soon, we're going to explore how this feeling of learning isn't worthwhile for some learner groups, you know, has an impact on their ability to take up learning. And we know confidence is an issue, we know time and money, but we also know from other evidence from the RSA and from the Department for Education that a lot of learners can't see the point. And we've got some big challenges. Career changes, so that might be people already in work who need to reskill, who are just a bit away from learning, but also people who really are far away from learning, who we need to encourage to join the labour market.
Brilliant,
So
thank you. Just very quickly, because I think we're running. We've got to bear in mind time as it rolls forward, I suppose. But you know, if you put all that and all of the amazing work and all of the case studies that you've seen come through with UFI over the years, because what's interesting is, you know, you have been there. This isn't a very timely conversation now, but you know, you've been involved in this for a long time as UFI. So. But if you could take one or two of the stories that impact, you know, you carry with you as reminding you of the value of the work that UFI does, could you share some of those stories, and then we'll catch up with Jane and give all that information around grants as well.
Do you know what? We refreshed our theory of change this year, and it's really worth a look, and it really reconfirmed my passion for the work that we do. And the work that we do is important. It's not just about responding to a crisis. It's really important for everyone. And there's some super examples. So really proud of the fact, or we didn't necessarily do it, but you know, we made representations to the prisons white paper and that now really recognises the role of digital in prisoner learning. And I work with MegaNexus over a number of years, has really taken a step forward this year in terms of testing and trialling how prisoners can use digital tools in their cells. Now, if we can make that work, that will be hugely transformational for learners who it benefits all of us for offenders to be able to get into work and progress when they've left prison. I really love the work of, there's a beautiful video on our website from Autonomy, and they've been working with people with disabilities who want to work and are able to work, but there isn't the right support for them to actually get in work and stay in work. And there's just some lovely stories of how VocTech is really changing lives. And I also love the stories where we're changing how people think about how you do tech in learning. Our friends at Bridgend College have really taken on our mantra about user-centric design thinking, and they're embedding it in all that we do. So that really really excites me and fills me with kind of hope and optimism that we can change how skills are done.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, and we need that optimism. So that's a great way to wrap up this chat. So we'll be back at the end for our piece then. But thank you very much, Louise. And this brings me on to something that everyone gets very excited about. So unsurprisingly, that might be funding. So I'd love to have a quick chat with Jane Holmes, who is the head of grant programs at UFI. So we're going to hear all about VocTech Activate.
Hello, Sophie. How are you?
Hi, Jane. I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can indeed, which is always a good
start.
Yes, exactly. So, Jane, let's get straight into it. What is VocTech Activate? Who's it for? And what ideas are you looking for, essentially?
Okay, so VocTech Activate, and magically, I believe a slide will appear with our new VocTech Activate brand. We've had a think about what used to be our VocTech Seed grant funding, and we now have VocTech Activate. Now, as Louise has talked about, we want to support innovators in further and vocational and adult skills education to develop a pipeline of new digital tools, new products, new services. And so VocTech Activate grant funding is designed as a testbed to support that innovation in adult skills development. To put a little bit more detail around that, boom, next slide is magic, isn't it? So as I've said, our grant funding, our Activate grant funding, supports the development of digital tools and approaches to help adults gain skills for work. It targets new ideas to transform vocational learning and allows those ideas to be tested in the supportive environment. We support projects to de-risk these new ideas that we hope will transform vocational learning, not just with money, but the wraparound support that our grant funding provides and our fantastic team of project and partnership managers provide. And all of these ideas are rooted in a real world understanding of the problems in vocational learning. So these aren't ideas where somebody's thought, oh, I've got a brilliant idea, I wonder if that will work, but nobody else knows about it. It's this is a problem that I need to address, and therefore I have this idea that I think will address that problem. How do I test that out? And our Activate grant funding is open to any organisation, whether they be a community organisation, an FE college, a training provider, a company, a charity, anybody who is interested in developing a digital approach to improving skills for work.
Amazing, thank you. And we do have a very specific question in the chat. Could I get funding for providing online widgets content for inside prison cells? Who should that be directed to if they've got a specific question around?
Okay, well, if I go on to the next slide, I can give you more information about our grant funding and what age are adults. I can see Jasmine's asked. We are focused on people aged 16 and over who are available for work, but there will be much more information when we open this Activate grant call. So we've changed the fascinating and exciting thing is we've changed the grant amount. So it's between £30,000 and £60,000 now. It used to be £50,000, but we've recognised that innovation, the cost of innovation, as with the cost of everything else, has increased. And usually they're projects between 3 and 12 months. And stage 1, this grant call will open on the 11th of January. And between then and the 8th of February, we'll be running a series of online workshops. They actually start on 10th, the day before. So if you sign up to our newsletter, you'll get on the button news about when those are opening to remind you, and the list of how you can sign up for one of those workshops. So we're running about 2 a week between the 10th of January and the 8th of February, where you can come along, you can learn a bit more about the grant. The webpage ufi.co.uk/activate is live now. You can find out a bit more about the grant, and what we do is you break you into breakout sessions, as we are doing this afternoon, with a member of our grants team in each breakout, so you can ask really specific questions that you may still have, having listened carefully and read carefully about the information about this grant call. So between £30,000 and £60,000, it's called Activate. It opens on the 11th of January.
Wonderful, absolutely brilliant job. So I think that's everything. So thanks very much, Jane.
You're welcome, Sophie. Look forward to the breakouts later on.
Thanks a lot. So I'd now love to chat to Alex, because Alex Bishop is from UFI Ventures, and he's going to tell us the equivalent on the investment arm of UFI. So he's going to come and tell us all about what UFI Ventures invest in and how they go about doing that as well. So welcome,
hey, Sophie.
Alex. Hi,
Can you
Alex.
hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. It's been a while since we last spoke. How are things?
I know. Good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's been a busy year for us in the ventures team. Lots going on, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I can imagine. Well, that was my first question. How has ventures been for you this year? And I guess the investment landscape is up and down, shall we say? So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that and what that means for UFI Ventures, and any highlights in terms of what your work and how that may have changed your investment thesis this year or not.
Yeah, happy to. I think it's remiss to avoid the wider context of what's going on in the market. I think for us, as I said at the start, we've been really busy. We've closed 3 investments so far this year, and are hoping to close another 3 or 4 by the end of the year. So all hands to the pump, very busy. And we've also grown the team, which helps with actually getting investments made. Obviously, that's set against the context of a more challenging macro environment, but I think we remain really encouraged by the buoyancy in the VocTech market, especially at the early stages where investors are still putting money into companies, and we are really excited by the amount of entrepreneurial activity we're seeing, and that our pipeline is just as active as it was at the start of the year. And I think that's a really encouraging sign. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, there's the autumn statement on Thursday that could have an impact, but we remain kind of encouraged by what we're seeing. On our thesis, it's broadly the same. We're still very much aligned to broader UFI. We're all about supporting kind of digital solutions that can promote better access to skills for work. And I think we're in the position now where we're a developed portfolio of 10 companies. We can be a bit more strategic in how we approach kind of investments. So that's kind of driven down to us doing a lot of work on particular sector challenges, for example. So did a lot of work on the social care sector earlier in the year, which resulted in an investment we made, and also kind of looking at other kind of sector challenges that we're seeing. So we're being a little bit more strategic in how we go about kind of thinking about investments too.
Fantastic, thank you. I mean, would you like to tell us about some of your investments that you made this year, just to give a bit of flavor to?
Happy to. I think this slide kind of speaks for itself first and foremost in terms of the amounts we offer, but new to us this year is that we've been doing a lot more earlier stage investments. So that enables us to move a little bit closer to the grant side of the organization, which Jane was talking about, where we can offer that early stage catalytic capital to help companies grow, and we're really excited about that. And we've made a couple of investments in that space. One was a business that I think James popped his details in the chat earlier on, a business called Mobilise, supporting kind of unpaid carers. There's 10 million unpaid carers in the UK, and provisions were very undigitalized, and they've built a great platform around that of building sort of access to knowledge and learning and a community around that particular problem. So really excited about that. We've also invested into a business called Perlos, which is focusing on innovating in college admissions to make sure kind of students stay on in the pathway to go into college courses and making sure they don't drop out. So really excited about what Perlos are doing. And our most recent investment we made last week, or closed last week, which you might have seen the announcement for, is a business called Assemble U, which is an audio first learning provider, which is very much aimed at supporting deskless-based workers, so people who are, for example, lorry drivers who haven't got access to desktop computers, but need access to learning provision. So, you know, that's something we're really excited about. That's an earlier stage investment we've made too. So you can see the portfolio on the screen. We're hoping that there'll be a few more logos on this by the end of the year, but really encouraged by what we're seeing.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love audio learning. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, that's right in your heart, isn't it?
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much. And I know that your team sort of pride yourselves on getting back to people, back to entrepreneurs quickly. So yeah, do get in touch with UFI Ventures, and thank you again, Alex. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some practical insights for those watching this back into how you might elevate your ideas through grant and investment funding and strategic support with UFI.